My name is Jason Edelman with Network to Code. In the next 25 minutes or so, we're going to talk about improving network operations. Network operations really hasn't changed much over the past 20 plus years, right? Network engineers are still managing the network one at a time, still connecting to the device manually via SSH. We're going to talk about how operations can be thought about a bit differently, leveraging multiple types of tools such as chat, ITSM tools, and even in the center, open source automation platforms as well. So at Network to Code, we work with our clients every day, providing them with a combination of consulting and training in the network automation space, essentially everything that you're going to see in the next 20 plus minutes or so. Now, so what we're going to be demoing in this video is very focused around thinking differently about network operations. Right, specifically, we're going to be demoing Ansible Tower by Red Hat and ServiceNow. But when you think about this top-down, ServiceNow could be any ITSM tool, right? It could be something like BMC's Remedy. And Ansible Tower as well has great APIs. But if you have another platform in the middle that has great APIs, what you're going to see in the next 25 minutes or so could effectively be done with other platforms. But we've just found a lot of interest from our clients in Ansible Tower as well as ServiceNow. So what we're seeing here is our network on the bottom. Going one step up, we have Ansible Tower by Red Hat, and we're going to have our network engineers, right, build things like playbooks within Tower. Now, you could also have network engineers and other IT engineers just consume those workflows using Tower. Right, Tower is going to give you things like security and permissions and have click button automation directly built in. But if you want to expose those workflows to other users in the organization, such as it could be the help desk, sysadmin team, it could be even business users, you can expose them through typical ITSM-based change requests. Okay, so we're going to show how you could now fill out a change request form and have that, when you click submit on a change request form, directly execute a job with an Ansible Tower. Again, very, very powerful. Now, it actually goes a step beyond this as well. Okay, so what we're going to be showing hands-on live demo is going beyond just ServiceNow, Ansible, and the network, is we're going to show how we can consume network even from chat. So on the left, we have Slack. On the right, we have Cisco WebEx Teams. So what we're going to be presenting is various ways to consume a single workflow. Think about this. You could today stick with doing network CLI-based work, connecting to one or more devices. You could deploy something like Ansible Tower, great web front end, right? Great click button automation in itself. And you can be done with your, we'll say, starting point into network automation. You can go straight up the stack as well to say, well, in terms of deploying automation, you might want to maintain your typical enterprise controls through an ITSM tool like ServiceNow. So what does that really mean? Well, let's say this, you want to open up a change request to deploy a VLAN. You fill out a web form, you click submit, then you want to have one or two or three other teams review that change, click approve, and then deploy it through Ansible. Well, that's possible. You can also say, well, that VLAN change is so common, we're going to dub that our standard change, and as soon as somebody fills that out in ServiceNow, and they click submit, have it go in real time, or have it go at the next scheduled change window. And we're going to show this in the live demo in this video. We're also going to show, let's hone in on that workflow for a VLAN change as an example. We're going to show how you can execute that change directly from Ansible, directly from Slack, and directly from WebEx Teams. Now, the great thing here is if you execute a given workflow in any of these user interfaces, in any of these consumption models, they're all going to trigger the same exact playbook, right? So you're essentially locking down what can be done with your playbook that you wrote. Now you're going to expose that via Slack or WebEx Teams or ServiceNow right? So the same job is getting triggered. We're also going to show how you can consume data from platforms like chat. Meaning, if you want to collect data about the network, right? In our demo, we're going to focus on things like, basic characteristics and basic facts about a device to collect them via chat. But you can collect things such as operational data, configuration data. This is where, whatever makes sense to you to have data at your fingertips, you can do that. You can even collect things like SNMP graphs via chat to get returned to screenshot via chat. So effectively, we're going to focus in on ServiceNow change requests and those changes being made through Ansible Tower and getting notified as well directly via chat. You also could have things like alerts go back into chat. You can have, based on a known event on the network, if a device goes down, a port bounces. Maybe you want to, in the future, open up an incident request directly into ServiceNow. So all this is possible today, and it's really about improving network operations, improving the reliability of the network holistically. But in this demo, we are going to walk through making the same exact change on the network from Slack, WebEx Teams, from ServiceNow, and Ansible Tower directly. And all these changes are going to issue and trigger the same exact job, which is very, very powerful in itself. So you're not going to have end tools communicating with the network. We're going to have that shim layer here, and we're going to have multiple consumption models, multiple ways to consume the network go all through Ansible in this case. At this point, we're going to shift gears, and we're going to go directly into the hands-on demo. Great, so at this time what we're going to do is start our demo using the Network to Code ServiceNow ITSM portal. And as we're seeing here, ServiceNow is quite robust. You can do quite a few things with ServiceNow. We're going to focus in on the left-hand panel where we have some pre-built common change requests. And this is where you can customize your panel within ServiceNow to have these types of things that are relevant for your environment. So we're going to start with things like VLAN Management as an example. So VLAN Management would be a common change request just to globally add VLAN ID, and taking a peek at a few others for now. Another good one is Help Desk Port Assignment. This is where if you want to have the Help Desk be able to configure a port based on Jack ID. So you don't want to expose necessarily the actual device name or maybe even the VLAN of the device. We would select the actual port. We'd assume on the back end there's a true mapping of a Jack ID to a given switch port interface, and then the device type. Right here, they would select the device type, reasons for justification, request notes, things like that, and then click Submit. Okay, so we have a few of these pre-built, like Help Desk, VLAN Management, switch port, a little bit more network-centric. As we mentioned for Help Desk, they would select the actual device type, or switch port management. You can do device type, but you can also do a VLAN ID to override that as well. Okay, so we'll get started with VLAN Management, come back to things like OS Upgrade in just a minute as well. So VLAN Management, as you'd expect, we're going to select our device. This could be data center, campus, really doesn't matter where it is. So we're just going to say, we're going to configure maybe a Slack VLAN. We'll just put 002 here, and maybe we'll put VLAN ID 222 on the right-hand side, see it populating right-hand justified. And we'll just say, deploy VLAN for demo, and we'll just do this for our justification and our request notes. So when I click Submit here, under the covers, what we're going to see is a job in Ansible Tower get kicked off. This is where you would determine the business process on what should happen. But for now, we'll click Submit, because a VLAN change is, for this demo, going to be a standard change. It's just a very common thing that we're going to have happen without any approvals required. I'm going to click F5 refresh. We should see update VLAN right here. If we open up our change ticket, we're going to scroll down and we're going to see our desired data in our description for now. Okay, so at this point, what we could do is I'm going to navigate over to Ansible Tower. We're going to go to our jobs, At this point, we actually see the green button kind of going in and out right here. So we see this playbook has started with an Ansible tower. Okay, so if we wanted to view what's happening, we could click on our execution of the playbook, and we're going to see this happen in real time going down if you want to monitor this. Okay, this is a very nice feature to be able to still see the standard out within Ansible Tower. Okay, so the other nice thing, as we're in here taking a look at Ansible Tower, see this job, this is going to take just a minute to run and deploy that VLAN. So we'll come back to that in a second. But the other nice thing is, if we did go into this job template called PB VLAN Management, let's just do a search for that real quick. VLAN. So we get VLAN Management here. If you were a network user, didn't want to go through ServiceNow, maybe that's going to be the interface for exposing VLAN resources to other teams. We could even execute this playbook right here. And let's click Next to see our survey and have another team fill out this form directly within Tower, right? So there's a lot of flexibility with consuming a playbook or consuming network automation, as we may say. So we're looking at 2 options already, and we're going to expose 2 more in the next few minutes. So we're going to close this because our playbook is running. We can go back to our jobs, this playbook. We have a lot of pauses in here for the demo, but let's jump back into ServiceNow and see what's happening at that point. Let's navigate back here, and we're going to click refresh. And even along the way, what we're going to see is the status change within the ServiceNow ticket, right? It's scheduled. Now, we're actually seeing it's currently in the process of being implemented. And the state just closed here. So if we scroll down, come to our notes, we're actually going to see that along the way of the ticket has now been closed. Okay, so this is a very nice feature to be able to do this. And let's F5 refresh one more time. And at this point, what we should see is that this is officially okay. So it was closed already. Okay, cool. So this is good to see for now. What we're going to see is even more data as we go into the next execution of this. Okay, so what we've shown so far is just ServiceNow standard change executing a playbook. Now, the next interface that we want to expose is from chat, but using Cisco WebEx Teams. Right, so what we're in now is a workspace that from this workspace, we can either interface with the network to collect data or make configuration changes. So what we're going to do here is issue that same exact change. Let's say we're going to talk to our network to code nodal bot, and we're going to say add VLAN. And we're going to do device equals NXOS spine 1. And we're going to say VLAN ID equals, let's say, 500. And VLAN name equals, let's say, this is going to be a Teams VLAN. We hit enter. So we're going to get a response back immediately from our bot with the response saying they've acknowledged what we're asking for. And the bot now is going to go configure VLAN 500 with the name of Teams VLAN on NXOS Spine 1. What we're also getting, we're actually getting back even more detail here from chat. So we have 2 links coming back to us around viewing the ticket progress. This is in ServiceNow, or even the link directly to Ansible Tower. So if we navigated into both of those, we could click the link, but it's open already, so let's just go back in here. Let's say open change requests. Now we see the alert up here as well. So we get the alerts from WebEx Teams going along the way, which is pretty neat. And so let's actually click on that link. Let's just say the ticket progress. All right, so we're going to get redirected here. And this was 222. Okay, cool. So we have Spine 1 Teams VLAN, and we have the notes at the bottom getting updated as we'd expect. Now let's jump into our playbook jobs. So we'll click jobs, and now we see the new job currently running for VLAN management. Again, if we click this link within the jobs, we're going to see we have a pause here for the demo. So we're going to, okay, cool. So that's going to be a pause. then we're going to continue with our tasks. Now we're getting the alert from our team's chat. So let's jump back into here. So what we're seeing is even the feedback from the device. So we have the ability to have the show command pre and post change be delivered directly to your console if it's chat or ServiceNow. And if we come back into our ticket in ServiceNow, these are the things that, let's F5 this one more time to refresh our notes. These are the things that it's totally up to you. So right now, we see data coming into our change in terms of changing the status, and then we saw from chat, we got the feedback from the device with the show command. Now we have other demos where the show command does go back into the ticket as well. That way, at any point in time, you would see the actual commands that were deployed, as well as the result, given a command like show VLAN brief on Nexus. And now we see our ticket, our ServiceNow ticket 3222 has officially been closed. Okay, so this is interesting. So think about this. We've already looked at 3 different ways we could consume the same workflow or same job. You can use something like Ansible Tower directly, right? And network team, DevOps team, something like that. You could consume it via ServiceNow, right? For third-party teams like a help desk or any other team that's a consumer of the network. We've also seen this now through chat using Cisco WebEx teams. Okay, so another way we can look at is using Slack, right? So what we have here, this is the result from the last ticket, but the really cool thing is if we just, let's get rid of this, clean up our output for now. With Slack, there's some built-in slash commands that we have. If we do /add VLAN for network autobots, what we're going to end up seeing here is a pop-up, right? So this is a bit more user-friendly, but again, still just showing how we can leverage chat to consume network resources, and we can select our device. Again, Spine 1 we'll stick with for this demo. That's the production device that we have up on the back end. And we can say, Slack VLAN, and let's say this is going to be VLAN 400. We click submit, same sort of thing. So I'm logging to Slack as John Smith. So we're going to say standby John Smith and let Notabot do its job. So Notabot, for us is going to be our communication mechanism into consuming network automation. So we're going to view the status of the job with ServiceNow directly with our link and the Ansible Tower console as you'd expect. And again, just for kicks, we can always come back to the jobs and then see the next playbook that is running. All right, so this is running again for VLAN management. Okay, so what we're seeing here is a lot of flexibility in consuming network automation. As this runs, what I want to show is a few more things. One is while we're in WebEx Teams, we can do things like communicate to Notabot and use help to see, well, what can we do? And these are just a few things that are available. There's many more that are built in the back end. As an example, we have get facts, so we can do something like, well, let's talk to Notabot and say, let's get facts. Let's get facts and say device equals CSR1. This is an iOS-based router. Now Notabot is going to go to that device, issue a job, and get facts. And facts, under the covers, this is still Ansible being used, so we're just going to collect a few basic things about the device. Things like OS version, host name, available memory, and a few other things. And this is where it's totally up to you as the designer or the automator to decide what comes back, the format you want it in. So here we're just bringing back some defaults within Ansible, but this is where we could get anything from VLANs to BGP to whatever makes sense. So what we've seen so far is pretty much running the same playbook directly from Ansible, directly from Cisco WebEx Teams, and directly from Slack. Okay, so and ServiceNow. Right, so we have those 4 mechanisms to really consume the same exact playbook or drive the same workflow. We've also, communicated with the network in terms of deploying a configuration change using ServiceNow. We've done that through, again, these other mechanisms, but really importantly, also collected data. So you don't always have to be configuring devices through these interfaces, be it ServiceNow or chat. We can also, again, collect data like we're getting facts here. And really neat is what we also showed within Slack with these slash commands as an example. Okay, so the one last thing that we want to walk through with ServiceNow especially is the ability to map back to your business process, right? A few of these like switch port, help desk, VLAN, those are actually pre-approved changes. Those are standard changes that you could just click submit and the job could run in real time as we're showing it here. But maybe you don't want to run it in real time and you want to schedule at the next change window. That's all totally fine and totally up to you to do that, and that's awesome. So what we're going to show now is OS upgrades. And again, so typically, we're going to just come in here and select our device. So here we could say NXOS Leaf 1 and then a desired image. And the whole goal, again, just to reiterate it, is to walk through the business process that makes sense based on the change, right? Again, VLANs might just happen in real time because it's a standard change. OS upgrades, maybe not as standard. We want to track it a little bit differently. So let's select our device and image and click submit. So when we click submit here, what's going to happen is, of course, a new change will be open. Now, the difference is when we open this latest change, 227, we are going to see on the right-hand side that a change is waiting for approval. So let me switch screens, jump into a second ServiceNow screen. I'm in a Chrome Incognito tab, and let's just do a refresh here on my approvals. Right, so if you notice in the top right, I'm logged in as Fred Luddy, who's going to approve this ticket, but also the initiator was the system administrator. So if we jump back in here, we see change 227 maps directly back to 227 here from the initiator. Now, what we're doing to simulate two approvals is we're just going to have Fred approve this ticket twice. But in theory, again, in terms of a production environment, Fred may be the first approver and maybe Sally is the second approver, whatever it might be. So we approve it once. Let's come in here again. Let's change this again. Let's go to approve. Now, as soon as we click approve, if we jump back into our tower job, we already see the OS upgrade ticket is starting. Okay, so what we're showing is effectively the process that you could implement for any given change. I'm going to cancel this actually. I don't want to move forward with that upgrade, so I will cancel that job for now within Tower. Okay, so effectively, let's jump back to ServiceNow. Let's show both of our screens again. One is the initiator. This could be a consumer of the network, a network engineer, right, requesting the change. And the approvers, we showed Fred approved the ticket twice, but it could be Fred approves the first ticket, gets routed to another team or a peer of Fred's, and they approve it and maybe also set the time. Because even here, as we showed, once Fred clicked the approve button twice, it did initiate the upgrade immediately. Now this would be right up to the enterprise process that would dictate how do we handle this for your environment. Is it one approver, one time schedule? Is it the next change window? Right, things like that would be essentially built into the workflow to make sure it adheres to your business process. Again, everything here can be consumed via the automation engine, the automation tool itself, such as Ansible Tower in this case. It could be an ITSM like ServiceNow. It could be something like Remedy. And it can also be chat programs, as we showed, like WebEx Teams, or even something like Slack. Hope you guys enjoyed the demo. Again, this was meant to really show different ways to consume some predefined automated workflows within an enterprise environment.